Do you have a whole bunch of attic storage area that you can't really utilize because it's so hard to get boxes up and down the staircase? What you need is a cheap electric winch elevator. It will absolutely transform your attic space. And it's not that hard to build. Stay tuned and I'll show you how. I had no intentions of building a second story. In my old workshop, I had a loft and had a staircase like this, and it was so hard to get stuff up and down, up in the attic. And twice I nearly fell backwards off of the stairs holding a huge heavy load box on my shoulders. And I don't bounce like I used to. That would have been bad news. So I decided, you know what, I'm just not going to do that this time. But then I saw a really cool video of how you can build these winch elevators. And I thought, man, that would be huge. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to build this winch elevator and put a second story on this thing, 20 by 40 shop upstairs that I can put in for storage. And this is the best thing I ever built in the workshop. It is absolutely amazing. Every time I come out here to the shop, most times I'm up and down this thing 3, 4, 5 times during the day to go and get various things. And I mean, I even have my table saw up here, and it's so easy to set it on this platform and bring it down, up and down. The construction is straightforward. You've got these super struts. There's 2 of them that run parallel all the way up, straight up. And then you buy an electric winch. And the one I've got is the Pittsburgh Harbor Freight 1,320 pounds. Now, the 1,320 pounds is rated for a double pulley scenario. If you just have one pulley, which is the way I've got this set up, it's half that weight. So about 700 pounds, something like that is what you're looking at. I'm seeing on Harbor Freight they're about $160 now, but Viver, I saw on there, has this one for $109, and it looks identical to this one. Now, the first one I built was for a ladder lift, because when I was getting ready to build the second story, I had these 5/8 4x8 sheets, and if you've ever manhandled those things, they're heavy enough, but to think about, okay, how do I get them up on for the second story? That was going to be a chore when you're working by yourself. Well, this ladder lift, you mount the winch at the very bottom of the ladder, have a pulley at the top of the ladder, and bring the pulley all the way around, and then you build a sled, kind of an L-shaped sled that has wheels that will ride on the ladder all the way up, and you have your remote control, and you sit there and fire it up, put your sheet on the sled, takes it all the way up, and very easy to pull it in and offload it. It works out wonderful. But I bought the wrong winch for the job. The one I got was the Badlands 1,500 pound 110 at Harbor Freight. The thing is super slow, and it is noisy, and it does not have a brake on it. And so when you stop this thing, it just keeps running, just kind of winds down. And that is not what you want. You know, you get it to exactly where you want to stop it, and you want to stop it, and it keeps on going. So here's my old Badland winch, and this is a 1,500 pound. And you can get a feel for how noisy and how slow this thing is. Huge difference in speed. And it doesn't stop immediately when you stop it. It just kind of slows down. That could be dangerous if you want to stop this thing when you've got a load going up and down, because you're going to cut out a box 1/2 inch larger than the platform that you make. This is pretty close to 36 by 32, I think, is the dimensions I've got on this one. And so you want to cut your hole out 1/2 inch larger than that. but you don't have walls on this thing. So if you've got anything sticking out, it is going to pinch and get caught underneath this thing, and you need to be able to stop it quick if that happens. And certainly you want to keep your feet and hands inside this thing when you're going up and down, because that could be dangerous in that regards. Now, when you cut out your hole, you need to be careful because you're going to most likely cut through a joist and have to put a plate on the end. You want to put a double plate, and you want to get a double joist here because you are transferring all the weight from that one joist to this one. And so that is important when you cut out your hole. Now, in my situation, I've got an elevator shaft, and so I've got it framed 2x4s all the way around, have big double doors to let me in on the side. But I need to insulate all that because this is a big chimney to let air out. And I've got this whole thing beautifully insulated, but this is the weak link. I've got to finish this, get my doors insulated and the whole shaft. Now, you may be wanting to put this in your garage and you don't have enough room to have this thing sitting here in your garage. Another way is the hole that you have, you can make the bottom platform exactly the thickness of your joists so that when it's lifted all the way and level with the attic, it'll be flush with the bottom. And you can leave it in that position and close your hole up. And then you don't need this elevator shaft, and you could put a trim or a rubber trim piece around with a piece of trim underneath the bottom of this thing that'll just catch that rubber fitting all the way around and seal this thing. That is really the best way to do it. You want to still keep another set of stairs, your disappearing stairs, in case the power goes out or the winch dies or something like that, or you got something loaded where you can't ride up here with it. I saw in one video this guy made his ramp, and he had cables, 4 cables on the ramp, and it would just let it down with the 4 cables, and it was not running on a strut. And it was big enough that he could drive his riding lawnmower over there, and he stored his riding lawnmower up in the attic during the wintertime. I thought that was pretty cool. But by having that would seal it nicely, but then you need stairs to be able to get up there and take it off your platform at the top. So you will still need some stairs to get up there somehow, or at least a hole in the floor that you can use a ladder and get up there if necessary, if you do that. Now, this winch is wired, but the wire on here is way too short. And so you need to buy wire, and this is 16-2 wire, or this 16 gauge wire. There's 4 wires in here. And so at Lowe's, they've got some low voltage 16-2 wire that I used, and it worked out fine. You need to just color code the top and the bottom, make sure you get the wires connected like you need to. But you just cut this thing in the middle and splice all the wires together to lengthen it. If you are dealing with having your winch elevator sitting right here in the roof, in the ceiling, then you'll have a little hole that this thing will be hanging down to be able to operate it. Now, Viver has the wired ones now for $105. They also have wireless ones. They're more like $149 for one. I think it's an 880 pound. So that'd be about 400 pounds by itself, and then $165 one for a more powerful one. So if you want a wireless, that is one option, but you're going to pay a little bit extra for it. The speed of this one is significantly faster than the Badlands. That's a good speed. It doesn't take any time at all to get you up your elevator and get your load up, but that Badlands one was really slow. Now, even this one is a little noisy, and I'm considering putting a box and insulate around it up at the top. and that will hush it up a little bit. You have two ways of installing this. One is to put your motor at the bottom and then run a cable all the way to the top through the pulley and back down again to hook onto your elevator. And in that situation, that's when you got double cables and it can pull a higher weight, but it's half the speed. And that's kind of an issue if you're going up and down a bunch. But that's one way of doing it. The other way is to mount it at the top and then just use one cable, which is what I did with this one. Now, it is really important that you mount that thing solid. So I've got it on a good, it is 1.5 by 3 inch metal beam, and made U brackets to go over it to mount it on, and then that is across some heavy duty blocks at the top of these 2x4s sitting on there to really hold it securely. I've beefed up extra 2x4s here, and put a 2x6 all the way to the top here to get this thing nice and solid. These channels are super struts, and this is the 12 gauge, the heavier duty strut. These are running about $29 a 10-foot stick, and you need 3 of them. So 30, 60, about $90 for the channels. And then you screw them every 12 inches all the way up. And you need to make sure that you've got a nice flat surface for this. I had to shim out in a couple of places to get it perfectly flat all the way up. But this is the channel that it's going to run on. And then you buy your wheels, and this has a metal plate. It's a little over 1/8 of an inch thick plate and has 4 wheels in it that runs inside the track. And these wheels cannot come out. The size of the wheels are just snug enough where it can roll on the back or in the front of the track, but this lip holds it in. So you've got to put it in from the top and run the wheels down and then bolt it into your frame. A little over $15 a piece at Lowe's, and that's the cheapest that I have found it. You'll have to special order it. They don't keep them in stock. So those are the main components, is the winch, your super struts, and your 4 wheels. Now the platform you can make out of metal or out of wood. Now I had the metal. I had 2x2 tubing that I made the back section. This is 1.5 inch tubing in the middle to brace this main section. And then underneath it, I used angle iron, and this is actually bed frame angle iron that I repurposed for this. I had to actually splice a couple of them and weld them, and so I made a V shape over here to give it the support you need. The goal is you want an L-shaped platform, very strong, that it can hold your weight. And so it's got the metal frame all the way around with an OSB screwed down on top of it. Now, this could very easily be made out of wood. And, you know, if you're boxing this whole thing in for your floor, and tie that into your upright L, and that's how I actually built the slide for the ladder. And it's all made out of wood and very, very strong. So this very easily could be made out of wood if you want to. But I had the metal and welded it together and painted it and bolted it all together. And it has worked out well. This is a heavy-duty ring here in the middle, and I've got 2 bolts that go all the way through and bolt them through. This needs to be a very secure location, especially if it's wood. Having a metal plate in there to spread the weight out is not a bad idea for lifting this up and down. When you are on it, so the top wheels will be running on the outside and the bottom wheels will be running on the back. Now, within the track it runs great, but the 10-foot stick is not long enough. You're going to need 3, and so one of them you're going to need to cut in half. And so the 5-foot pieces you're going to have to add on to extend it. So now you have a joint in the super strut over here, and if it is not perfectly lined up, it will hang. The wheels will hang. So I had to take a file and file it down and adjust the screws just right to get those things to line up perfectly. And that is not a huge deal, but you will have an issue with that, potentially with that. But that is it. It is straightforward. It took a couple of weekends to build, weld, and reinforce this whole thing and to build it together. But it has been so much fun, and it is just absolutely opened up my workshop. As you can see, the amount of storage that I have upstairs, and I put all this shelving in, and it is just so easy to get up here, get what I need, bring it down. Even if it is really heavy stuff, it is easy to haul it up there and bring it down for the elevator. So there are a number of different designs on YouTube, and watch several of them before you build yours, and you get an idea of exactly what will work best for your arrangement if you're in a garage in a tight space, or out here in a workshop where you can have the elevator down all the time and load it and take it up. This is working wonderful for me, and it's right in the center of my shop.